Hello, Olivier.
Hello, Lilou.
Good to see you.
Same here.
And to talk this time about your book, The Gift of Forgiveness, a magical encounter with Don Miguel Ruiz.
That's right, yes.
You have translated many of Don Miguel Ruiz's books, you have met him.
That's right.
Can you tell us why it was such an unforgettable encounter that you had?
Well, indeed, it was an unforgettable encounter. I was lucky enough to know Don Miguel before he was world known. A friend of mine, Mocé, was one of his apprentices in New Mexico when he was just beginning to teach. And when the Four Agreements first came out, she immediately offered that we translated it and published it in French. And she had a series of books in France, and so that's what we did. And just the following year, in 1999, she said, well, I'm organizing this trip to Mexico and New Mexico, so we can both meet Don Miguel in Mexico, and then also work with Brant Morgan, who's a long-time apprentice of Miguel, and who's written a very nice book that's called The Vision Walk. And so I went there. I wanted to see the man behind the book. You know, I had so much enjoyed reading and then translating the Four Agreements. I wanted to know if, as Native Americans say, whether he walked his talk or not, because it's not necessarily the case
and he did,
with all authors. And yes, certainly he did. But what was very unexpected for me in this adventure was that just on the second day I was there, he had me go through a very powerful ritual in front of the whole group, and I was totally unprepared to that. Why me? Why not anybody else? And it was a ritual about forgiveness, and that ritual literally changed my life. It opened a door in my heart. It allowed me to release many negative emotions and feelings, resentment, anger, hatred, and stuff that had piled on my heart year after year. And suddenly to just open up, to really feel that love that I feel Don Miguel is really an incarnation of. In such an extremely powerful way. I had what we call a peak experience that night that left me totally baffled. I felt like I was reborn, that I was, like a newborn baby. It was such an incredibly powerful experience, and I must say it took me probably many months or even years to be able to grasp all the
depth of it.
Yeah, the depth of it, how much impact it had on my life. And right there and then, by chance, just while I was in Mexico in September 1999, I had a book coming out in France that's been published in English since. It's called Medicine, the New World Religion. And so I was very happy to announce to Miguel, say, hey, listen, just in France now, my latest book is coming out. I'm so happy. It's been years since I last wrote a book. And he just said, that's already the past. You got a new book to write. Now that was very surprising. I was so happy. I was not thinking about a next book, about something else I might be writing. But at the same time, I knew exactly what he meant. I knew what he had made me go through just a couple of days before that. And the title of the book, The Gift of Forgiveness, came immediately to my mind. But it took me 10 years to write the book, and I guess I really needed to integrate that gift, to let it blossom in me, to understand also, because he made me go through the ritual, woof, no explanation, just do it, do this, do that. And
step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go, and it's
exactly.
Wow.
And so it's only afterwards that I had to ponder about what happened and why it had such an extraordinary impact on me. And most important of all, Don Miguel afterwards said, oh, listen, you've gone through that ritual now with me, but you can do it anytime. And he was not saying that only to me, but to all of us, the 20 French and Swiss guys present there. You can do it anytime at home, all by yourself.
Wow.
Just before going to sleep, you take a time to meditate, to relax. and then you follow the same process that I had you go through, and which I describe in detail in that book, and it will have the same result.
So do you forgive though by section of your life, or is that your entire life? Because here it seems like it was your entire life all of a sudden.
Well, the way he had me do it, yes, it sort of washed through all the you know, the negative feelings I might have been harboring. It had a very sort of global impact. Now, in the book, I explained that there are various ways that you can work with it. What I want to add also is that, you know, forgiveness is a difficult issue for a lot of us.
With a lot of consequences.
Yes, and sometimes we would like to forgive to someone who's done us wrong, and we just can't, because forgiveness is not something that you can decide by will. I want to forgive and that's done. It's something that's related to the heart. It seems like the end result of a long process. So how do you accelerate that? How do you...
And then we feel guilty because we're...
Yes, guilt is very close to the issue of forgiveness, and that's where the very unexpected aspect of the gift of forgiveness is a complete reversal in the way we approach forgiveness, which totally took me by surprise, because again I had no explanation. I mean, he just suddenly asked me, you kneel down in front of Veronique, the first woman who was there, and you ask her forgiveness. And I was there and I said, gosh, did I do something wrong with that woman during the day and I haven't seen it? And maybe Don Miguel felt it, and I was totally unprepared to that.
Yeah.
And then while he had me do that in front of each one of the person of the group, I realized that he was totally reversing the process. Instead of wondering whether or not I was able to forgive to the people who might have done something wrong to me, he was asking me to forgive. Why? Because, as he explains, we use other people as a reason to shut ourselves, to stop loving. You've done me wrong, so I won't love you anymore. And we don't realize that if we shut our heart, even just a little, then that means that we have less love flowing in, and we are loving less other people as well. And if you shut a little bit because of that, and because of that, and because of that, then there comes a point where your heart is maybe functioning at 50% or 20% of its real capacity to love. So when he says, you know, you ask forgiveness. You ask forgiveness for using other people as a reason. Whatever they may have done to you, that's not a reason not to love. People have done you wrong, that's true. We won't deny that. But you have the capacity to keep on loving. Viktor Frankl, who found himself in the Nazi concentration camps during World War II for 3 years in 3 different places, found out in this awful and worst condition of all imaginable on this earth, that he had a space of freedom inside of him that nobody could deprive him of. He could keep on loving, he could keep on remaining open, he could give meaning to what was happening to him in spite of it all. And that led him afterwards to create logotherapy and to have this huge impact. And there are just a huge number of books in self-help and spirituality that always mention Viktor Frankl, because what he achieved in this context was just something incredible. And Don Miguel is saying the same. He's saying, okay, people may have done you wrong, they may have hurt you, they may even have done awful things to you, but keep loving, keep your heart open, because if you start shutting it, then you are the first one to suffer from it. And so, and afterwards, the process goes on to deeper and deeper layers until the last one. And the last one comes last because it's the most difficult one, and it's being able to ask forgiveness from oneself. Because our worst judge, as he writes in most of his books, is ourselves. We judge ourselves all the time for what we have done, what we haven't done, what we should have done. And so these various steps leading to self-forgiveness end up in a feeling of relief, of let go, of, you have the feeling that suddenly your heart can again breathe, can again grow and be alive, and stop harboring a resentment, anger, and hatred. Now, again, if it took me so long to write that book, and it's because I wanted to take the full measure of that gift and to be able to explain it and to
And
share it.
Is his depth too? Because you
Yes.
are right now. I'm very touched by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for instance, people tend to think, well, how can I ask forgiveness from someone who's hurt me? I don't want to become friends with him, I don't want to love him, and so on. And that's not the issue. The issue is not to start having a friendship or loving relationship with the others who've done us wrong. The issue is to stop shutting yourself in hatred and resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And as I explain in the book, you can, reopen your heart, let go of your grievances, and if needed, you can start a trial, go to court, or do what's necessary because of what you've suffered. But you won't do it with anger, you won't do it with hatred, you won't do it with resentment.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever your actions whatever their results, they won't be the result of your negativity, of your negative emotion and so on. You'll do that from a space of love. You'll do that from a space of inner peace. And so it makes a whole lot of difference whatever you do afterwards. First, I need to let go of what is oppressing me, and then I can take steps.
Mm-hmm.
But that's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people tend to get all mixed up.
Yeah.
I should love everybody, I should be open and friends and hug with everyone. That's not the idea behind that. Love is more a state of consciousness than just sentimentality. And that state of consciousness allows you to be very strict and firm if needed, very loving or kind if needed, but in both cases you won't be in a state of anger, of negativity, of rejection or whatever. And that makes a whole difference.
Thank you for sharing this gift with us, Olivier.